Go ahead, Mr. Chairman, if you're ready.
Already having the, have an invitation in the play. Do have a full quorum this morning.
Move to approve them, sir. Second.
The agenda,
Agenda's ready for your approval, Mr. Chairman.
I'll go for one.
have a is the public hearing,
After
is that
this.
a presentation or is it, okay, we're good, we're good. You jumped the gun on you, Stacy.
Oh, okay.
I did, I'm sorry. We'll go right on into the debate.
All right. Yes, sir, I have one item for you today. This past August, we brought a proposal to do a project out at Blanchard, our water treatment plant, to upgrade the switchgear there. And there's a lot of controls in that existing switchgear that are outdated and need update to the software and to the controls equipment. And we approved that agreement back in August, but today is just to approve the project back in August. Today is just to get an agreement straightened out. We worked with procurement to get an agreement signed. And we're just bringing an agreement before you today, and staff recommends the board approve the agreement with Yancey Power Systems for the main switchgear upgrades at the Jim Blanchard wastewater treatment plant. Water treatment plant.
Move to consent. Second.
So moved. All right, now, Mr. Titus, sorry.
Yes, sir. First item we have is a public hearing regarding the abandonment of John Deere Parkway right-of-way from Horizon South through parcel 0681001, stopping roughly 1,300 feet north of Brightsboro Road. At the following commission meeting, a report from the public hearing will be presented along with a resolution proposing to abandon the respective portion of right-of-way and proceed to a sale according to state law. So the history here is a portion of John Deere Parkway was requested to be abandoned by Deere and Company pursuant to Resolution 2234 by the Board of Commissioners on November 15th of 2022. Proper notification and advertisement. With your permission, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to open the hearing for public comment. Staff will document any comments.
I'd like to open the public hearing.
I'll give a little history of this while we to speak on it. So we've been working with John Deere, with the Development Authority for 5-6 years now, I think, Robbie, on a way to help them optimize their production and their shipping. Currently, John Deere Parkway does split their campus. They do have to traverse John Deere Parkway with tractors, with trucks, employees. So in the past, we've been held up by doing this because John Deere did not own all the property. They now have the majority of the property out there. The only parts of the property they don't own are the 1,300 foot on the southern end of John Deere Parkway, which is not being abandoned. So they do have a new plan in place. They're going to put into action if this does happen, if the sale does go through, if they do take ownership of John Deere Parkway. I think it'll be very beneficial to them. We now have Gateway Boulevard open, which acts as a bypass to having to go into downtown Grovetown to get back out to I-20. So another hindrance we had in the past is there was no other route without going into Grovetown. So I believe now is the proper time for y'all to consider this. So we want the public to have their time to have their input into what they think it's a good idea. John Deere's here if you have any questions for John Deere.
I have a question. Will there be gates at where, right up past the post office or right, I think it's the next property above, and then down at the other end also, so. State your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Sean Smith. I'm with Cranston Engineering. My office is at 452 Ellis Street, Augusta, Georgia. As of now, on the Wrightsboro end of John Deere, we're planning to have a manned guard shack with a gate. And then on the Horizon South, we are currently working with a solution with the fire marshal to maintain fast emergency access. So right now we're thinking of an electronic gate with a Knox box, two-way intercom system, and a video camera. So if for some reason that gate doesn't come up when it needs to, it's taken care of.
All the use Wrightsboro Road, gate, the other side will be blocked off unless an emergency.
Correct.
This may be just a small housekeeping issue, but will your entrance there or that gate be recessed to some degree so that the Wrightsboro Road is not going to be log jammed? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. We're moving all our gates back so that existing businesses on John Deere Parkway still have full access to all their driveways and their parking facilities.
Your PDF's the same as mine. If you go to page 32 of your PDF you have in front of you, that shows the John Deere Parkway at the Wrightsboro Road end, and you'll see that there's several private driveways off of John Deere Parkway that will remain open to the public. If you're familiar with the big warehouse that was built kind of up on top of the hill across from John Deere's plant, that is, the driveway there is roughly where the privatization of John Deere Parkway would start. They have decided, I believe, unless your plan has changed, all the incoming truck traffic will turn right and go towards that warehouse and stack there. Is that still the plan? So now they're
Yes, sir.
stacking out of John Deere Parkway. In the past, they were stacked in John Deere Parkway. Pictures of school buses driving into oncoming traffic to try to get around trucks waiting to make their turns into the plants. Should alleviate that. What he was mentioning about the Horizon South End fire chief has been very adamant that he needs to be confident that he has access into that plant from that end of the road. He will be responding from Sugar Creek Station. That'll be the first end station, so Horizon South will be their direct access to John Deere's plants. His concern is if he gets to that gate and there's no one there and he has to stop and get out and turn a key and then get back in and go, and then the next truck does the exact same thing, and then going back out with a patient in an ambulance, the ambulance has to do the same thing to get out. So really concerned with the timing of getting into the plant. So that's what he's mentioning, how we give him a level of confidence that he's happy with that gate, how it's manned, how it's operated. Putting a man there would be the easiest thing to do, but that's 24 hours a day, 365 days. So I don't know if that's a right option, but great option for us, but I don't think Deere likes that option.
So we're comfortable with where we're at on how we're going to do this?
I've assured the chief prior to y'all getting a vote to raise your hand that I will make sure he gives us his recommendation of approval as well. So I'm working with the chief regularly. I think William Eubank.
Any other public comment or questions, concerns? Public hearing. Thank you. Titus?
Yes, sir. The next item we have is a public hearing on the proposed establishment of streetlight districts for Highland Lakes, Section 1C, River Island, Section 3, Phase 2C3, Somerset at Williamsburg, Phase 8, River Oaks, Phase 2, Tillery Park 1A, Tillery Park 1B, and Crawford Creek, Section 10. This is a lot of streetlights. As you know, we're working through a streetlight update, policy and procedure update. We tried to hold that off any new submissions for the month of October so we could get the policy updated prior to accepting any, but we weren't able to make that timeline, so this is a culmination of all those stacking up. Staff received a petition from the residents and or developers of the following subdivisions for the creation of the streetlight districts. We've contacted Georgia Power and requested proposals for the upfront cost and annual utility costs associated with these. Those are shown below. We've had the public hearing. We're having the public hearing, that's correct, and staff will document any comments.
Open the public hearing for the light districts.
I will say that you will see, on the petition that there are 75% of the lots represented here, and there are verifications that have been done on this one.
Close the public hearing.
The next item we have is Resolution 22-41 through 22-47 to establish streetlight districts in the same. That's for Highland Lake, Section 1C, River Island, Section 3, Phase 2, C3, Somerset at Williamsburg, Phase 8, River Oaks, Phase 2, Tillery Park 1A, Tillery Park 1B, and Crawford Creek, Section 10. Again, the upfront cost, annual utility cost, developer contributions, and annual revenue per lot, annual revenue total dollars per lot per year, is shown. This will be funded for the streetlight fund. Staff recommends approval of the first of two readings.
I want to make a note that discussion we had earlier, audit committee, out of all of these 7 proposals here, one is from the citizens and the rest are from the developers. Amount that the developers are contributing versus what the cost. Note that forward on the closure on
Move to debate.
Second.
The next item we have are safety lighting proposals from Georgia Power to provide safety lighting at various intersections, to include Tanner Court at Evans Locks Road, Blue Ridge Drive at Blue Ridge Crossing, Tillery Park at Baker Place Road, and William Few Parkway at Uchee Creek Trail Crossing. Staff received individual requests for safety lighting at intersections. Staff evaluated, studied each of these intersections, and they met the warrant per the current street lighting or safety lighting policy. The requested proposals from Georgia Power, which are shown below for your consideration. This will be funded out of IPTF. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
The next item is the lighting services agreement with Georgia Power for the Savannah Rapids Pavilion upper parking lot expansion. This is to light the new parking lot. The total upfront cost is $18,000 to install 8 light poles and lights, and the annual utility cost is $3,096. The upfront cost will be paid out of the 1116 SPLOST, and the annual utility cost for the streetlights will be paid out of the general fund. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
The next item is striping contract with Peak Pavement Markings for Riverwatch Parkway. Recently, staff worked with a contractor in crack sealing all of Riverwatch Parkway, fairly new road, had significant cracking. So we did crack sealing to help preserve that pavement. In doing so, a lot of the thermoplastic striping was covered. We reached out, we had staff work with procurement on advertising a contract to restripe that whole corridor. We looked at piecemealing it, just doing what was absolutely required to be restriped. But we knew that if we did that, we'd be piecemealing the other part in a couple of years. So staff would like to move forward with the full bid with Peak Pavement to restripe the entire corridor from Baston to Washington Road in the amount of $111,646.35, funded out of 1722 SPLOST. Completed within 10 days from receiving notice to proceed. Staff recommends approval.
going all the way up to Washington Road.
Right. Yes, sir.
Move to consent.
Second. Quick statement, it's just that, I mean, how in the world has that road sealing? It's only 5 years old.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But the good thing is the ceiling's gonna give us, you know, several more years, as opposed to if we don't take care of it, we're gonna be reconstructing that road. So, this next item is change order number 1 with Reeves Construction Company for White Oak Business Park Road Extension Phase 2. This one has what seems to be a lot of moving parts. This is for the construction of the roadway extension. As a part of this contract, there was 5,000 linear feet of ductile iron water line to be installed. When this contract was given notice to proceed, they reached out to vendors to purchase this water line, and it was on a 50-week delay for delivery. Staff worked heavily with the Water Utility Department, Development Authority, and the contractor in developing a solution to this. And all parties have agreed that the current contractor will not build the water line, which will in turn save $705,000 approximately out of their contract. They won't build toward those line items. However, they will go ahead and install steel casing carrier pipe in the roadway so that when a future contractor comes in to build a lift station to be constructed at a later date, they can install the water line. In the immediate, if the board approves this change order, the Development Authority will go ahead and purchase the water line separately and start the procurement process so that the water line can be on order. That way, when the lift station contractor goes to work, hopefully by that time they'll have the water line in hand or near delivery, if that makes sense. All that said, this change order is for the purchase and installation of the steel casing pipe or carrier pipe. I think there was a 4-inch isolation plug valve that was missed on the original bid, and then there's a change to the grading complete item for the staking of the water line that's no longer needed. The total cost of the change order is $120,032.71. Recommends approval.
Requirements for piping, requiring other developers to use.
Yes, so Mr. Gordon, that's a question for you. That's a specification change that you made recently. I think that was regarding plastic pipe. However, this is ductile iron, so I'm not sure if it applies.
Yeah, in this instance, it'll be different than like in a subdivision or neighborhood. In an industrial park, we'll want to use a ductile iron pipe, which is, it's critical that they have water in industrial parks, and it can cost them lots of money being out of water, so we want to use the best. And so we need a ductile iron pipe in this application, but in a subdivision, we would use PVC pipe, which is a less expensive pipe.
I'm just good. I didn't want us to be not putting.
Yeah, this is a different application.
Question.
Move to consent.
Second.
The next item we have is the 2023 Local Maintenance Improvement Grant, or the LMIG application with Georgia Department of Transportation. You know, every year, GDOT receives LMIG applications, and 2023 Columbia County allocation equates to $1,727,041.75. A 10% match is required to go on top of that on the county's behalf. Again, this is just for the application and the 10% commitment at this point. The application is due February 1st. At any rate, looking ahead, staff compiled the below list of projects for the application with an estimated cost of $5.3 million for roadway improvements. An additional $300,000 plus or minus will also be needed to raise manholes and reinstall speed humps. So staff's requesting a total project commitment of $5,650,000, which $3,922,958.25 would be the county's contribution. Again, no funding is required for the application. It's just the application and the match commitment. At this point and at a later date, once we're able to advertise, receive bids, and bring a formal bid back to the board, we would ask for all the funding.
Are we
Heads up
agreeing
on
on
how
the
it's gonna
roads on
work.
this vote as well?
For the application.
We have to provide a list of what we're doing to DOT, for the application to show the match. So this is what we're proposing. Bid this out if
Yes.
I would say yes.
Consent.
Second.
Who you take care of?
This next one's a big one. It's a construction contract with E.R. Snell for the Horizon South Parkway widening project from Gateway Boulevard to Wrightsboro Road, basically taking the Lewiston Road project all the way to Wrightsboro Road, picking up where Lewiston Road widening's ending now. Staff's been working extremely hard with design engineers, with property acquisition, with procurement on getting this procured and out the door in order to meet our requirements for TIA. Again, this is for Horizon to be widened from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. The project was advertised and bids were open November 10th. The lowest, most responsive being E.R. Snell in the amount of $22,312,902.86. This bid exceeded the original TIA budget of approximately $21.2 million. Staff has since worked closely with the TIA office on identifying additional funding, and they have committed to providing the additional funds to cover the project's bid. The contractor will have 910 calendar days from the issuance of notice to proceed to complete the project. Staff recommends approval.
Start on this work.
Yes. Yes.
Out of 3 years.
After 3 years, weather permitting. This, just to add, we will receive the 3% administrative fee on top of this.
When will the bridge be done and all the?
Mid 2023, mid to late 2023.
Diamond will be in. Right now?
He said weather delays for this next one, so a 3-year project.
I heard.
8 months of weather delays in 3 years, so 3.5 years when you bring it all out.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
This next item is an independent contractor agreement with Terracon for geotechnical engineering services at the west end of Bill Dorn Road. So staff is currently looking at working with technology services, the fire chief, on identifying a site for a future tower and a fire station. Due to the need for testing services, we've reached out to several firms, received quotes for geotechnical services on testing and preparing a geotechnical report so that we can ensure that the site is conducive for what we are proposing or potentially using it for. Terracon was the lowest respondent at $8,900 for the required services. Funded out of 1722 SPLOST. Staff recommends approval.
Second.
This next item is the adoption of the updated Columbia County Engineering Division Construction Standard Specifications and Details. The last set, or the current actual set of specifications and details were originally compiled in 93, adopted in 93, last revised in 1994. So as you can imagine, they're out of date, antiquated, and they've needed updated for quite some time. Staff has worked relentlessly over the last year, stormwater, road construction. Various departments have been involved in this. This has been a long, tedious process. This is not introducing great new strict requirements. This is taking an antiquated set of specs that are referred to plows and disc harrows to bringing it up to date. Today's current technology and standards, making sure that the current references to GDOT standards and specifications are current and up to date. So again, this is not any big changes, just bring it to today's standards and what we're actually doing today in the field. Once we had a pre-final draft ready, we sent it out to the development community, 4 members or 4 companies in the development community that we work together quite often. About a month after that, we invited them in to meet with us to express any concerns they had or questions they had regarding the details and or specifications. They came and met with us, met with staff. Mr. Slaughter attended that meeting as well. There was one developer representative came. He had spoken with 2 of the other developers that were invited, and according to him, brought all their concerns. He had several questions, but nothing significant we were able to address or provide some clarity, and we're actually able to incorporate some clarity into our draft as well and make some changes. So we feel it's a good set, it's up to date, and if this board approves, this committee approves, ultimately I'd like to start bringing updates annually so we don't get over 20 years before we have a new update. It's not as much of a process. So all that said, we've worked hard on it. Staff recommends adoption of the new construction standards and specs. We did not. We reached out directly to the developers as they're responsible for. So the engineering community would take these and incorporate them in the construction documents. Contractors would be responsible for following these. The contractors are contracted with the developers. So it's really the developers that would take any cost, added cost on. So it's send it to them because they would ultimately be responsible for making sure that they were satisfied and didn't have any heartburn over it. And again, we're not adding a bunch of requirements, bringing them up to today's standards. So we don't see this as being a large added cost, if any.
Were there any that they were diametrically opposed?
Nope. Nope.
I was impressed at the meeting. I think 30, 45 minutes from the time we started to the time he said, thank you, I got all my answers. And
Let me rephrase my question. Are there issues they said they don't like this and we said tough?
No. There was actually, if anything, again, we provided clarity on several questions. There was one they thought a tolerance was too tight. It was 1/4 inch over a lane being out of tolerance. And we changed that to a 1/2 inch, I think, or a 1/2 tenth. So we worked with them, provided clarity, and actually gave a little bit on these.
Debate item?
after it can be.
Consent.
Second.
The next item is for acceptance of improvements for Lot 6 at Gateway Square. If you're familiar with Gateway Boulevard, Meridian Drive, coming down behind McAllister's, dead ends at a current undeveloped lot or lot that's being developed. This is for a sewer system and a utility easement to serve that final lot. So staff recommends acceptance of those improvements and the permanent utility easement on staff's approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
The next item is acceptance of improvements for Highland Lake Section 3, William View Parkway. This is to include the road, storm, water, and sewer systems, along with the right of ways and easements associated with these improvements. This does not include a detention pond in this phase. Staff recommends acceptance of improvements on staff's final approval.
Or you'll come back to us on the pond? You said it does not include.
It does not include pond. There's no pond being deeded to the county in this phase.
Our position that we were gonna take those if they were built out the right way?
There are no ponds in this phase.
Oh, okay.
constructed.
I
So they're not keeping any and they're not deeding any. There's just no
Understood.
ponds.
Move to consent.
Second.
And the final item we have is for acceptance of improvements for Hickory Woods subdivision in the city of Harlem. As you know, we still maintain and operate the water and wastewater system in the city of Harlem. This is for Hickory Woods subdivision, which is shown on the plat. This would include the water and the sewer systems along with those easements. There's also a lift station in this subdivision. The lift station as originally planned was just for a small area, but the developer realized that an unconforming lot would be left. So this is also for the dedication of a fee simple lot to Columbia County for the lift station. Not sure if you have any questions.
Want to throw out one clarification. This is dependent upon a vote by the Board of Education
I saw that.
tonight, so.
Tonight, yeah. And I've spoken to the superintendent, it is on the agenda.
Or if they vote to approve this easement, then we're good for next Tuesday, but if they don't, we will ask to pull this from next Tuesday.
Move to consent.
Second.
Yes, sir. I've included the year-to-date budget report and the water and sewer construction reports, and I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
No questions.
None, sir.
Comment? I'd like to on a holidays, so to everybody out to the end with us. But, executive session.
I'll make a motion, we move them to the full board.
Second.
So moved. All right. Or adjourn.